something casual. And anyway, and then I mentioned to him, I said, well, he said, how long have you been single? I was like, well, it's been 3 years since my marriage, blah, blah, blah. You know, one other person, but we were on the wrong page. And then he was like, he wants to dive into what does that mean on the wrong page?
Because he read the column in Men's Health last month, and he's
apparently, well, this is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, I'm all skeptical. I'm like, he's young, he's beautiful, he's like this, but he's from Michigan. So this is where I was getting caught up. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, he's from Michigan. Maybe he's actually nice. Long story short,
is he in Michigan, or
he's
just
here.
Kid Rock's from Michigan.
Right.
Kid Rock is from Michigan. So that he's from Michigan doesn't necessarily fly.
Oh, well, I was thinking,
so he's got the American flag,
nice Midwestern boy.
denim shorts.
Anyway, all of this stuff, and it's not congruent for me because I'm like, all of like what I'm seeing superficially. So this is basically the point of this is I'm being a superficial asshole, but I'm like, you're saying all the right things. I need to know what, like you just said, like he probably just read Men's Health. So he connects me with his Instagram. I look on his Instagram and I immediately write back, I'm not sure what kind of work you do, but is this Instagram tied to your brand? Because you're very open about wanting to fall in love. And he's like got all of the things that guys don't have. I'm sorry to be like this, but it's like he wants so badly, at least according to his Instagram, to find the person and fall in love and be cuddly and smoochy and buy her diamond rings and all of this kind of stuff. And so I was like,
Ew.
What do you do for a living? And you know what he says? And I'm saying this with total respect because I will definitely go out with this guy if he asks me out.
Hold on. Do we get the guess?
Hang on. He goes, no, you don't get to guess.
You posed it as a question.
Right here.
You posed it as a question.
He is a jeweler.
Okay.
And who sells like diamond rings and stuff. So of course he's going to like throw out the whole love and proposal, which by the way, the love part, yeah, great. I want somebody who's going to be in it for me, but I don't need all the other wedding diamond ring bullshit. But thank you for me catching on. Like there had to be something, right? Anyway, he's been texting me all day long.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, huh, wow. Like this, I don't know what to do because he's
I think here's the answer.
Nice. He's super nice.
Right. Fine.
I'll probably never see him.
Here's the problem with, at least my experience with dating, online dating.
Jewelers.
There's just too many jewelers. But the problem is I think that people present almost like a pitch and they're trying to find somebody who responds to that pitch. And then you continue down that, like, I want to go horseback riding on the beach. You want to do all these things.
And I want to throw up in my mouth.
And relatively, some people are into that. So relatively quickly, you find out that you feel something or you're suspicious. And everybody has that story. Like I have a friend who, she really didn't want to go on a date with this guy. So she showed up in sweats and a t-shirt. She did her best job and her hair pulled back, no makeup. He was just really into her. It wasn't on online media. They met through friends and he tried as hard as he could. And now they're married and have 3 kids and they're super happy and they're doing all these things, but she was just not into it. And so he had to like dance a little to get her attention. Mm-hmm. It's all about timing. It's all about interest, but I think that you should just go for it. And then if something comes up, say, hey, just be clear. Like I know what I'm looking for and I'm solid in that. I'm not going to follow down a little path. And your idea of cuddling and diamonds and all this other stuff is, to be fair, in my opinion, it's a little sexist because it's a little bit saying like, oh, this is what women want, so I can produce that for them.
Yeah.
It's a little about him and it's a little bit egoish. But that doesn't mean that you can't meet him. And if he's a nice person, great. If there's chemistry, even better. Second date, whatever it is. You just kind of like feel that out. I think you should say yes more often than you say no.
Well,
and be okay with the outcome.
So here was this big idea. And in fact, I even told him, I'm like, you just gave me a big freaking great idea for my podcast. I was like, oh, I should invite him on the podcast because I don't know shit about him. He's good to look at. He's definitely good to look at. So sitting across from him for an hour would be
perfect for a podcast.
Not sucky. Yeah. But how great would it be for me to just bring somebody here and like get to know him on the radio at the same time, and then all you guys could be like,
not the radio, but
whatever,
on
the waves. What do we say?
Yeah, what
in the ether is what I
in the ether. In the ether.
Do you think I should do that? Should I call him and invite him to be on the podcast?
Absolutely. Like always say yes. Always.
Yeah,
I mean, unless it involves.
He's probably going to fly back to Michigan in a day or so. So
it's Kid Rock, right?
Back to the old oven mitt.
It is Kid Rock.
Michigan's an oven mitt.
No, his name is Superman.
Yeah,
I'm calling.
Ask him where he's from in this oven mitt, and then he'll be like, "Oh my gosh, she's done her research."
Well, he's actually German. who moved to America when he was 25 and now lives in Michigan.
Who's just been to Germany?
I was.
Oh. Raise your hand. I like that.
Raise your hand so everybody can see.
Kann Deutsch sprechen?
I don't know what you're saying.
Ich lerne Deutsch.
He's German.
Kannst du auch Deutsch?
No, really? That's it. That's literally all my German.
Oh.
I heard you say Kanye West.
No, I said
Kanye. It's actually, the Germans.
Deutsch.
Yeah.
Or limonada.
That's Spanish.
What is limonada?
Yeah. Most German and Spanish are so close.
There you go.
Okay. Really? I don't think
How
so.
was Germany?
How was it?
Germany?
Yeah.
It was great this time. I was only there for like 48 hours, but I lived there before like 3 different iterations.
Yeah, he did like 72 days worth of stuff in 48 hours.
Yeah, it was intense. In fact, my friends that I met in Germany, then we traveled to Paris, which I'd never been to. And actually I had a horrible experience in France first time I was in France.
That's great.
Yeah, I was given misdirections by a man wearing a beret, smoking a long cigarette, and walking a pink poodle.
Shut up.
With a striped shirt.
Yeah.
The wrong direction.
He's
black and white
train
striped
station
shirt.
is this way. And I was in college. I was trying to get to the train station in Strasbourg, which is kind of on the
He's got
Alsace-Lorraine.
the accent.
Yeah, he does.
I was living in Germany.
He's living in Germany.
I'm good at mocking things. I can do a Boston accent. You want to talk Boston? We talk about Boston?
That doesn't even sound like you.
Did the guy have face makeup with black eyeshadow?
Voices.
Can you do
I don't even know what that is.
Oklahoma?
Can you do? Oh, you said
Nebraska.
Oklahoma. What I heard was coastal Spanish lover that you met.
Coastal
Do
Spanish
that.
lover, yeah.
Can you do that?
Everybody close your eyes.
Yeah. No, I was just a latchkey kid, so I just learned voices a lot. It was just
I was a latchkey kid. I just learned accounting.
When you said you were going to Germany,
different-
I had the vision of like midsummer, like you were out there at some festival.
No, it was
ritual.
Kind of. I ended up in Freiburg, which I'd never been to before, which is on the border. It's you can see Switzerland and see France from there. And my friend lives there. He is ironically, he's a librarian at a cultural institute, but he has no training in librarianship, which I do. And he and I were roommates in Chicago, and it was a horrible match. We're great friends if we have nothing to do with each other, actually. And he's in
I have a few of those.
Chicago right now, which is where we were roommates and where we kind of like grew up as adults, with his now partner who is German of French descent. And so the 3 of us were in Paris for 4 days, and her name is Valerie, and our Vala is like the pet name, and it's important at some point in relationships. You know that they're serious when they come up with pet names.
Oh.
Which is great. And so
is
she
Superman
can tell
a pet name?
No.
Okay.
It's a category.
You know what?
Okay,
with the
sorry. I
Superman,
digress.
there's just way too many areas of exploration.
Yeah.
Yeah, this dude is Superman.
Superman, why? That could
Because he has
you realize
Superman
that-
emoji on his Instagram.
Is he
but
bulletproof or is it the Man of Steel?
Because the thing is also Superman is basically solitude, cries a lot,
Oh.
lives alone in an ice castle, can never really be happy in love and misses his parents, and then also has this other obligation to be like the most valiant person, which means he's not going to have time for you. So you don't really want a Superman. What you want is Clark Kent. And there's actually a really great story I can
He's
tell
that
you.
too. I saw a
Is
picture
that
of
the
him with
Kill
his
Bill?
glasses.
Oh, yeah.
The Kill Bill,
He's-
Clark Kent. Yeah.
Duality. It's biblical.
Duality.
It goes back to the original caveman painting of like our obsession with being duality.
Do the Kill Bill Superman thing.
The
Do
Superman.
you remember
what
that
is
part?
To pull a Danielle,
that-
I've actually never seen Kill Bill 1 or 2.
Oh my God! So
Really?
it's a
Well, I haven't seen Superman. So.
The
There's like 17 of them.
Either, any of them.
Yeah.
So the Tarantino dialogue is that Superman becomes Clark Kent, which is this kind of
Kent.
Yeah, Kent.
With
That's
a
what I
teat.
said. Tit. Who's awkward and kind of bumbling and insecure, and that while other superheroes have to become the superheroes, Superman, unlike the rest of them, has to become Clark Kent to hide who he really is.
I would argue that
And
Spider-Man,
it's-
which is my thing, Spider-Man is kind of more my guy.
The last point on the Clark Kent thing is that is how Superman sees the human race.
Oh, I love the idea because he's Superman by nature. Clark
By
Kent is
nature.
his alter
He
ego.
was-
where Peter Parker is Peter Parker, who happens to be Spider-Man.
They dress up to be the superhero, where
I'm
Superman
so
dresses down.
confused.
Do you get
I'm
it? Superman
a little bit bored.
is natural state. Superman is Superman.
He's Superman.
There's also a thing too with back to Germany.
Yes.
I don't like the term Superman because that's a
Why?
Nietzschean term that comes from Übermensch, which is
Übermensch.
the Superman, which is what Nietzsche, who's a philosopher it's kind of Austria, but also
He's super smart.
and he got syphilis, went into the institution, started writing crazy letters. And then his sister co-opted them, and it was a Nazi, and she translated all these things and all these letters and turned it into Also sprach Zarathustra, which is also Spake Zarathustra, which interestingly is the name of a song which is the beginning of 2001 Space Odyssey, but we'll get there. So that whole like
I hope we don't get there. No offense.
Yeah, but so Superman or the Übermensch was a concept that the Nazis used to say we are a superior race. What really what Nietzsche meant, because I studied philosophy in German and specifically German existential philosophy and also a little bit of Kierkegaard, but we don't have time for Kierkegaard. Right? No time for Kierkegaard? Yeah.
No,
who does?
I don't think so.
But the Übermensch is what's happening now in America as people believe that there is a superiority, that there's a strata, and that at some point above a level, you become more valuable than others, and therefore you can dispense discipline or punishment to people that are below that level. That gets you also into Foucault, which is a French organization about the organization of people in the Panopticon. But we won't get into that because we were going to talk about something.
Because you're showing off now.
Yeah.
No, it's good though.
I know. I like
the only chance I get to use that.
No, I love that we were able to tie that into
But it comes back to the dating.
Anyway,
so I think,
should we involve this guy in the podcast?
Yes.
Should we call him right now?
Yeah.
Should we have? We could do that. We could
Can
be
we
like
do
have
that?
an online caller. I don't have his number. I do have his number.
It would
but
take work.
It's part of the
Do you wanna-
phone, which is taking video down there.
Do you want to like jump him like that?
Well,
See, I
be
think that's
something
unfair
new.
to him.
Totally.
To say like, hey,
You'd have
you've
to
never
text
have you
first.
spoken with him on voice?
No, I've
Yeah.
known him for 7 hours.
Yeah, then no. Then no.
But that was the point. It was like, I would actually say, would you be willing to come on my podcast and we can
Like
explore
right
this?
now.
But can you imagine
Right
how
now.
interesting this would be if it was so awkward that there was no chemistry whatsoever and we're on the podcast and we're trying to figure out how to dig our way out of.
Absolutely. I've done that before on first dates where I've just said, let's just go do an adventure. I'm big on adventures. And then the person's really not into it. Or they've convinced me to do something that I don't want to do. And it becomes a disaster. And
what?
One of them was,
For example,
surfing.
Surfing?
Yeah. So I basically, it wasn't really supposed to be a date, but it kind of turned into a non-date thing, but it doesn't really matter. The important thing is like, let's go do something that we both want to try. And so we both went out surfing in Bolinas, and turns out she was actually much better at it than I was, which is fine. But she was not the kind of person that I thought when I first met her and said, "Hey, let's go do this." But there was a third person in the surfing class that
the unicorn
took, who was amazing, but she was like just out of a relationship. Surfing was part of her like finding herself and centering. I was like, yeah, it's inappropriate for me to say like, hey, I'm on a date with somebody that's clearly not going to work out. You seem pretty cool, but you're in a rough space. Give me 6 months. What's your number? I'll wait. Put a Google reminder, call you back. It would have been awesome, but
you should have done that.
No,
you totally should have done that.
No, that would have been one of your crazy stories that you, yeah.
Can I tell you about
Yes.
I know. I want to hear it. I'm nodding.
Are you sure you want to hear it? Are you awake over there?
No, I was getting my
are you
phone
with
set
us?
up. We're capable if you want to
All
do
right. I have a friend, did you listen to the New York episode?
Yep.
The one I stayed at her home. She's amazing. And we had a big phone date yesterday, right? And she was telling me that I just love it. She's been binge listening to this podcast. Right?
Really?
And
that might be our first
I know,
binge
she's
listener.
our first binge listener. She's so sweet. She gave me the best compliment ever. And she was like, I love this podcast because I feel like I'm sitting in the room and I'm just hanging out with you and drinking a glass of wine. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Back to my original point. Like, it has to do with these microphones, as Phil knows.
Yeah, it helps.
Because they do
nothing to do with you,
about the
Danielle.
registry of your voice.
All about Phil and the microphone.
Yeah, it's the microphone.
Yeah, and there's like not other things. And that's the point, right? Like, as we talked about with your brand, is that you want the idea that it's comfortable, it's approachable, it's easy.
It's just fun.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about?
My podcast.
Yeah. Well, like the Danielle brand. Like you want,
the Danielle brand.
You want
We're
people
still
to know that you're not suit pant and kind of like flow charts and like laser pointers.
I used to be that person.
Yes, you did. And then would you learn?
That it was boring.
And
for me.
And for you.
And I like to connect with people and have fun and converse. And
that's intimacy.
Yes.
That's empathy.
I'm intimate.
Yeah. So that's what you want to do. So you want to be able to connect with people in a meaningful way, regardless if the level is more about something that is going to be on the dating standpoint, or if it's going to be somebody who's like committing to, hiring you as a consultant, right?
Right.
And the intimacy is not in the sense of like they're going to know everything about you, what we live in today's world, and I can look up things about you and find old things about you. Listen to your podcast.
Some things you don't even want to know.
Yeah, but to be fair, like you don't really hide too much.
No, I think what was disappointing in that whole thing about him like thinking that he knows who I am is I know what he was looking at.
You know what I'm thinking? How dare that motherfucker?
He
you really think
was
so?
looking at my old website, which was pre-Keller Street Co-work, pre-podcast.
That's like 2 or 3 years ago.
I know. I
Here's
don't
the
do
thing
that work anymore.
Back to the thing.
You've changed in 6
But
months.
he's told you a story. And what he's
he
told
was
you
being
is,
nice.
you know what, before, yes. And he's like, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to look you